After 4 days of life-risking protests blocking the M25, Just Stop Oil have halted today. They announced on Twitter that they stopped to, quote, give time to those in government who are in touch with reality to consider their responsibilities to this country. Theopathetis was on BBC Question Time last night and said this.
But the fact remains, what we can't have, and I use the word muppets, and it's degrading in some ways, but funny in others. You can't have people causing the disruption...
Hang on, you were going to say Muppets, I think.
Muppets, yes, Muppets. Disruption to the economy of the country by chaining themselves to gantries on the M25.
Well, campaigner Indigo Rumbelow is with me tonight. Indigo Rumbelow, good evening.
Hiya there, good evening.
So what's been your latest method of protest, Indigo?
Well, as you've just stated, for the last 4 days, people have been on the M25 demanding that our government puts an end to licensing of new oil and gas. So that means we want to see an end to new oil and gas drilling in the North Sea and a no on the upcoming coal mine decision. And that's because...
Sorry, go ahead.
That's because there's complete scientific consensus now that more fossil fuels will lead to more climate disasters, and that will mean that many, many people around the world, they will be forced to leave their homes, or they will suffer the impacts of these climate disasters, and many, many people will come to an early death if we don't sort it out.
And how many people in each of the two big political parties, the two biggest political parties, Conservative and Labour, do you think, would have a view similar to yours about the environment? Do you know what the split is? Do you know the policies within the political parties? Yeah,
obviously we know we've got the Greens backing a similar thing to this demand, and we've also got the Labour manifesto does say that they would put an end to new oil and gas. I haven't seen that myself, the text of it, but that's what we've heard, that they will put an end to new oil and gas.
Do you not think you might bring more of the public with you if you got behind a political party, got behind MPs, let them be your voice?
Yes, the thing is here with the climate crisis, it's not like another issue that's just sort of trudging on and we could sort it out now, or maybe we could sort it out in 5 years. This is something that every single day we can bring this date forward will save millions of lives. So the climate crisis will get exponentially worse. So it's like we're hurtling towards a cliff. We're going to go off the edge of the cliff, and then we're never going to be able to get back on it.
Well, we heard Theopathetis from Dragon's Den describing you all as Muppets. What do you think is the... I'm trying for this not to be an aggressive interview, Indigo, but when you've got people looking at all of you as fools, or Muppets, or people that get some type of kick out of, keeping people back from hospital appointments and getting to funerals and getting to work, is there not a better way of bringing the public with you than disrupting them?
What do you reckon we should be doing then? What do you think are the best ways in which we could stop our government doing this to us?
Well, don't you ultimately determine a government through an election? If you're so right, an election's a couple of years away. If you're so right, why is the whole country not getting behind you and creating a voice that the government cannot ignore?
And you're right, the whole country is behind the idea that we do want a government who acts on climate. I think it's about 75% of the British people think their government should be acting more on climate. They would like to see them bring in things like home insulation, bigger windfall tax on the big polluters. They'd like to see they'd like to live in cities with cleaner air and know that they're going to pass on a future that they could be proud of for their kids. But the truth is, our government is much more interested in making money off these fossil fuels, because ultimately, if you look at who's in there now, they're old people who just want to make money and not rock the boat. And that's why, we had Sir David King, when he left his position as the chief scientific advisor for the government, he said what we do in the next 3 to 4 years will determine the future of humanity. Do you know what he means by that?
Indigo, have a listen to Eric tonight, who was stuck in the M25 this week for, what, Eric, 2.5 hours?
It definitely was, yes. 2.5 hours.
What would you say to Indigo Rumbelow tonight?
I think to a degree they have a point, but they're going the wrong way about it. They are alienating the people that they want to help them. I mean, I was fortunate in as much as that I was driving a coach. We had school children. Now, I was fortunate that we'd dropped these school children off, and the age that we had was from 4 to 13. Now, that's our future, obviously, our future children. We were lucky, we got them off, and we were going back to the yard to do other jobs, but we got stuck up for 2.5 hours, sitting there. A lot of the vehicles had their engines running, causing what they class as pollution, congestion, not only on the M25, but the congestion entailed all the side roads.
People like Indigo would no doubt say it's a mild inconvenience compared to what you should be realising is the devastation of the future of mankind and the planet.
Climate change has been going on for years, and I mean years, because if you look back in history, you'll find some of the, I can't think who it is, some of the writers who were diaries, Pepys diaries, I think it was, who then complained about unseasonable weathers. So this has been going on literally for years and years. And as I say, these people...
Well, let one of these people reply to you. Go ahead, Indigo.
Hiya there. I'm really sorry for that. And I think just coming back to this stuff about the Muppets, it's like that's what the press seems hell-bent on doing at the moment. It's trying to make us, me and what's your listener called here today? What's his name on the line?
Eric.
Yeah.
Eric. He dropped his kids off to school and he drives a school coach and he couldn't get through you lot.
What the media wants to do is put a big wedge between me and Eric and say, Eric and Indigo, they are number one enemies of each other. They can never get on and they've got a different agenda. And actually, that's just the media doing what they always do. And actually, the truth is, we've got the same interests. We both want to live in, live on a in a healthy community, and we want to pass on a healthy community. And what our government, our genocidal criminal government, is doing is just chucking that all in the bin. And that's what I think is just really annoying at the moment. And
let me bring in Stephanie tonight, because Stephanie's also from the Just Stop Oil campaign. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello.
You did You did a week in jail. What did you do?
What to get into jail? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I've been protesting. I mean, you've just been speaking to Indigo, so you've heard all about what we've been doing and why. And
where were you protesting, and why did they arrest you?
Well, as you've heard, we've been doing this for many, many years. And sadly, it's got to this point where we are having to resort to breaking the law. And it is ridiculous, isn't it? So what
Definitely.
I did to get into prison was I actually went to the distribution site of the oil itself, and I stopped it being distributed for about 40 hours. And in that time, I stopped the air pollution going out into the surrounding area, which has killed a little girl in Lewisham, a 9-year-old, for example,
Wow.
and amongst
Come
the
on.
many
Come on.
numerous
Nobody,
other
they haven't
people who have died
they haven't
because of
killed
the
a
climate
little girl.
crisis.
No, well, come on.
Well,
now.
that's what was
Let's
on the
keep this.
post-mortem, so you'll have to ask them.
Well, I'll need to have a look at the post-mortem. But when you're blocking oil loading bays, Stephanie, who has given you the right to do that? We all live within the rules of a society where we all can't decide what to block tomorrow morning. And those oil loading bays were delivering oil to where?
Yeah, and I completely appreciate that. But
Where
I'm
was
a
the oil
scientist.
going?
It's going all sorts of places.
Like where?
Sorry, I don't. Is this really
was,
what we're here to discuss? When are we going to start?
No, but I want to understand. But
to start talking about the government's inadequate response to the climate
Stephanie,
crisis.
we will do
the
that.
wholly
We will do
inadequate
that.
response.
Stephanie, we will do that. But I just want to. There's a reason for my question. You blocked the oil,
on.
right? You did a week in jail. I want to be sure you knew where that oil was going. Where was it going?
It's going to numerous different places. I don't want to spend time listing
where?
off all the
Like
different
where?
petrol stations and all
Like
of the
where?
different companies. If
Petrol
you let me finish,
stations?
then you'll hear.
Okay, go ahead.
Hospitals and ambulance stations.
Sorry, I can't hear you now because you're just talking over me.
Okay, hold on a second, Eric. Was it possibly going to fuel emergency vehicles? Was it going to petrol stations where, you know, maybe mums and dads are taking their kids to school or taking their sick relatives to hospital? That's the point behind my question.
So I appreciate that, but I actually used to work in operating theatres myself, and I know that they don't use that supply. So no, actually it wasn't stopping any emergency vehicles. We are reasonable people. We are not trying to deliberately block the emergency services or cause any chaos or any deaths or anything like that. That is not what we're trying to do. It's a very, very simple ask. All we're asking is that the government halts all consents and licenses for new oil. We have 8 years worth of supply. We do not need any more. And at this present moment, entire states such as Mississippi have completely run out of water. In fact, a third of the entire country of Pakistan was underwater, with 36 million people displaced. Canaries are falling dead out of the sky in India, and we're here discussing where the specifics of where the fuel is being taken to. What do you suggest we do? Do you have a better suggestion? Because we've tried everything. Are you suggesting we write a petition? Because we've done that. Are you suggesting we go on a march? Because we've done that. Are you suggesting we get more representation in Parliament? Because we've done that. Can you honestly say that you're doing everything you can with your platform to discuss this issue?
Hold on. Some people might suggest you act within the law. Wouldn't that be a revelation? That some people might suggest, Stephanie, that you're no better than any other citizen in this country and that you should act within the law. That's what society is about.
I would say exactly the same about our government. When they start acting within the law, then so will we. But currently, they are acting in a completely criminal way. They are basically allowing licenses for 130 new fossil fuel projects, when in fact the IEA has said that, well, if you let me finish, the IEA has said that we can have no new oil or gas or coal development to reach net zero by 2050, which is already too late. So they're not even sticking to their own policies, and effectively this is a death sentence to my 2 children. The house, imagine this, right? The house is on fire, and the people who have the fire extinguisher and the power and the capability to put the fire out are not acting. And you're standing here criticising me and Indigo, the people who are smashing the fire alarm. No one likes the fire alarm. It's really annoying. Are we going to carry on talking about how annoying it is, like rearranging the deck chairs on the floor of the Titanic?
But you're going to carry on.
Take some action
But you're
and
going
do
to be.
something about it?
Yes, you are going to be challenged for openly, deliberately, and possibly arrogantly saying that you and Indigo are so special and your cause is so special that you've got the right to break the law when everybody else does not have the right to choose which laws to break and which laws not to break.
This is your life too. This is your life too. This is not just about me and Indigo.
Which other laws do you break?
Excuse me?
Which other laws do you break? Like, can everybody listening to this programme tonight just decide what law applies to them and what law does not? How does society function?
Neither should our government, right? Our government cannot choose which laws they should abide by and which laws they can just push aside.
But I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about
too much money.
Your responsibility to adhere to the law. Is that not what we all have to do? Or this place turns into some type of jungle.
I do completely appreciate that. I'm not suggesting that we deliberately all decide to stop following the law and to just do as we please.
No, I know you're not. You're just suggesting that your group breaks the law and everybody else sticks to it. That's what you're suggesting. That your cause is so worthy that you can break. I want to finish my point to you. You're suggesting that your cause is so great that you and your friend Indigo and your other protesters have the right to break the law, but other people who have causes and want to change things in this society, they don't have the right to break the law. It's just you lot. How arrogant is that?
That's not what I'm saying at all, actually. Our government are currently breaking the law. The High Court has deemed their net zero strategy unlawful. They are not protecting the people, and that was, in fact, before the 135 new fossil fuel projects came in, and the flirting with the fracking that Liz Truss introduced. We're going backwards, not forwards, and this government are currently breaking the law.
You cannot possibly be critical of the government breaking the law if you willingly break the law yourself, because you know what? That makes you a hypocrite. The only position you can surely
we
have...
We are highlighting, by us breaking the law, it's got me talking to you. It's got me on this show speaking to you and highlighting the government's criminality. So actually, I would argue that our methods are effective because it's got me in the room on this show.
Here's David in Belfast. Hello, David.
Hello, Stephen. I just like to say my granny would have been 100 years old today, and she was in the back of the ambulance where these protesters were, and she couldn't make it to the hospital, and she died in the back of the ambulance. So I want the government to legislate a law to say any protesters that stop emergency vehicles should be forced to pay for the funeral cost.
Hold on, your 100-year-old granny was in the back of an ambulance. When?
Yep. 2-3 weeks ago, roughly. 2-3 weeks ago, and these protesters have blood on their hands. It's cruel what they're doing. They don't care they don't care for anybody else around them. All they care about is their self-pity. They're mad. They should go, if they want to fight climate change, stand for office and get elected and go in the government and put policies in place.
Do you want to respond to that, Indigo?
Hiya there. I'm very sorry for your loss, and
thank you.
I think I really am, and it is just really awful that we have to do this, and I wish I really believed that there was another way.
Well, there is another way. It's called standing for election and getting voted in the government and being in power and do the policies that you want to do, not taking it out on anybody else.
Can I ask this question?
But can I ask something back? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Can I ask something back? Yeah. Do you trust the people who are in Parliament at the moment? I know I don't.
Well, you have to trust somebody, but Richie Sunak will do what he wants to do, and he will get the country moving in the right direction.
Indigo, were you protesting this week on the M25?
I wasn't there this week on the M25, but I have protested on the M25 myself, yeah, and I have a 50-day suspended prison sentence. For that.
And when you have protested on the M25, Can I ask how you got there?
Yeah, I got there on the public bus and then I walked.
Does the bus use diesel or is it an electric bus?
Yeah, so there's a lot of this going round at the moment. Have you ever eaten an ice cream? Have you ever been on a plane? Do you ever catch a bus? And, like, that's really not the point. Like, I have been on a plane 6 years ago and I don't fly anymore. And yes, I did eat an ice cream this summer. One second.
I didn't ask you to eat an ice cream, but you took a diesel-powered bus to protest about about people using oil, did you?
Do you really think that the only people who can protest are people who are sort of living in trees? Like, we all live in this system, and this system is going to collapse unless we sort it out. If we go over 1.5 degrees of warming, we're going to undermine the rule of law, let alone standing on the M25. It's going to be absolute chaos.